The South African Police Service yesterday presented the country's latest crime stats covering the third quarter of the 2021-2022 financial year, October to December 2021. Total reported crimes over the period declined by 3.3%, both as a result of reported crimes as well as a reduction in the number of crimes detected through police activity. Contact crimes, which include categories like assault and sexual offences, were down overall, but violent crimes like murder and attempted murder are up. Now, to discuss this, we are joined via Zoom by independent crime analyst Dr Chris de Kock. Dr. de Kock, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the viewers.
Dr. de Kock, give us your overall, response to the latest crime stats. One would perhaps be forgiven to think that the most reliable stats are that of murder, and of course, most worrying is that these numbers have increased by 8.9%.
Yeah, look, murder is the most reliable crime trend in the world. I mean, everywhere in the world, that is seen as the most reliable because it's basically a body count. Now, if we look, I didn't only look at this quarter, because a quarter is a very short period of time. I'm very happy that the minister released these stats. It is fantastic to analysts. We can do a lot with it. But the quarterly, I added the 3 quarters, because when I was still at the police for 18 years and I had to give briefings to strategic briefings, I always said that when you have the first 3 quarters of a year, the first 9 months, you actually have the whole year, basically. In this quarter that we are in at present, we can't do much to change it. Now, if you take the 9 months, the 3 quarters of 21-22, then you have actually an increase of 12.1% in murders. It's even higher than the minister released yesterday, 12.1%. I think this is one of the biggest increases that we have seen for the past, I would say, 10 years. And also, this will eventually take us back to where we were in the middle 90s, when the then President Mandela even called a crisis meeting on our murder figures because we were one of the highest in the world. So we're going back there. Okay, the population in the meantime have grown, but the figure is not good. And we have just seen what is also interesting is from 2002-03 down to 2011-12, there was a systematic decrease in murders. And then came 11-12. And from there, we had a systematic increase every year. There's actually not one year which we have skipped where there was not an increase and to where we are standing now. So that's shocking. And then the attempted murders at 10.4%. And maybe I can quickly refer to a few other negatives. Carjacking up with 12.1% in this 9 months. Truck jacking up with 37.9%. Cash in transit up with 40.2%. I think this is really a very shocking picture.
Now, and I want to stay on this particular one, which is murder. You mentioned that crisis meeting that happened during former President Nelson Mandela's time. Should we be calling a crisis meeting now with regards to murder? Because, I mean, if you look at the stats, going back to what you've just described, and 12.1%, which is what we're currently sitting with, is the police winning that war, against these statistics as it relates to murder? You've been in the SAPS yourself for 18 years. What are you seeing? What is likely to happen now?
Now, clearly, they are not winning. And what was very shocking of yesterday's release, and I must say a few previous quarterly releases, it seems as if the police are just accepting this. And it seems that our population now also start to just accept it. It's a fact. I mean, I think people don't even listen to this anymore. And I think a crisis meeting is actually of great importance. When this minister was a national commissioner, murder went down in those years, in those 2-3 years that he was there. He was actually there only for 2.5 years. It went down very dramatically. And one of the reasons was and all that other crimes that I mentioned, like carjacking. And one of the reasons was that it was visible policing based on top of intelligence, which is called, Americans call it, and the Brits call it, intelligence-led policing. That was the success story. That's why it went down from 3 down to 11, 12. And then suddenly all of these things were cast aside. And if we look at the National Commissioner, yesterday, I mean, he was sitting there as if, and even the other top officers of the police, as this is normal. We have to accept that we're going to get a massive increase of 8%, or I've recalculated it to 12% per annum.
And that is of concern, of course, and I'm talking here about the leadership crisis that is being reported at the top, particularly between the Police Minister and the National Commissioner. Do you think this is hampering how the SAPS ultimately reacts to crime at the various police stations? I mean, one would like to see the kind of boldness, leadership that results in how serious crime fighting is addressed by the police.
Look, I agree that there should not be tension between the National Commissioner and the Minister, but I think the situation actually make it, there will be tension. When the Minister was appointed, this Minister, in an interview, I think it was from another television station, said that I know him and he would be a very good Minister because he was an excellent National Commissioner. And he knows about policing. And I said, but I think there will be a lot of tension between him and the National Commissioner, whoever the National Commissioner may be. Because I think he's frustrated. He's frustrated with the figures that he sees that he has to release. I would have been. If I was the Minister, I would have been terribly frustrated to release something like this to the public.
Now,
this fight, if there's any fight, this fight actually can't influence the day-to-day policing at your station and my station. It should not influence that. I mean, at our stations where we live and where everybody else live, there the police should do their job. And their job is to understand crime through the analysis of their crime situation and to do policing according to that analysis. And it will achieve success. I looked at rape and I see Lusiki Siki. Lusiki Siki is the #1 station in South Africa when it comes to rape. And I'm now very interested. Why is Lusiki Siki, which is, I think, a rural, as far as I know, Lusiki Siki, it's a rural area and quite a traditional area. Now, why would we have that very high reporting of rape in Lusiki Siki? Or maybe it is a good thing. Maybe it's indicating that the ladies in that area trust that police station to such an extent that they go and report. And Lusiki Siki is not only for this quarter, for the last few years, it's very high up. Now, the same applied to a station like, carjacking. We had Boysons for many years in the top for carjacking. Now, that station must ask the question, why are we always at the top? And analyze the situation and understand why do they have that carjackings? And then they must fight it. So the fight between a National Commissioner and a Minister, well, I can't think it will influence the effectiveness of the police.
Now, when we look at some of those stations, that have drawn almost, an eye in terms of just the high numbers of reporting, and you mentioned specifically rape. Let's look at the GBV cases that have presumably dropped in this particular quarter. Do you think it's a true reflection or a case of too few victims reporting these cases? I mean, it's probably different from what we're seeing in the Eastern Cape, if your example is to be, taken into cognizance.
Yeah, I think that, when it comes to GBV and especially your sexual offences and especially rape and sexual assault, then we find that the underreporting figure is very important. And you can find a station. In my career, I have seen a station where the station commissioner was actually, really handled very badly, a lady station commissioner, where when she came to that station somewhere in the West Rand, the rape just skyrocketed. And the reason was because all the women in that station trusted her, came to visit her, the women's groups are all with her, and so they came and they report violence against them and rape to the station. And the area commissioner really said, no, but these things are out of control in your station. While actually it was fully in control. So rape, sexual offences, certain other crimes, domestic violence, it's all about people will only report, it's very private, and they will only report if they have full trust in the police. Otherwise, they won't do that. When I look at this GBV, you see, unfortunately, the police have no indicator of GBV. They have indicators, but they have no good measurement of GBV violence. Although the president said this is our second pandemic, we have actually nothing, because we have violence against women and children, which is not a good indicator, because that is all violence. I mean, robbers also shoot babies and children, and gangsters do the same. That's not violent. That's not an indication of GBV. And then we have got, on the other hand, we have got domestic violence, which a third of those are males in any case. And that is fights between father and son and son and son and daughter and son. That's not GBV violence. So actually, we don't have any proper indicator of GBV.
Dr. de Kock, that's where we have to leave it for this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, and thanks to the listeners.